In April of 1945, as a senior in high school, the war was still going on, and I joined the United States Navy Reserve, and hoping that they would take me into the war so I didn't have to finish high school. They put me on a landing ship, an LST 1074. These were scheduled to go to Japan for the invasion of Japan. When the bomb was dropped, the war was over. Thank heavens for that. I was then honorably discharged because they said, let's get everybody out now. And I was honorably discharged from the United States Navy. On the back it says that I had served 364 days of active duty. Congress passed a law that said if you had not been on exactly or more than a year of active duty, you were subject to be drafted. And I was only halfway through college. So I joined the Marine Corps Reserve, inactive again. And for 2 years was that. And then when they said, would you like to re-enlist? I said, no, thank you. I may have said something else, but anyhow, no, thank you. And 2 weeks later, the Korean War broke out. In December of that year, I was drafted into the Army. I can remember the date because it's December the 7th. And at that point, I said, you know, they're going to get me one way or another. I might as well see if I can become an infantry lieutenant in the Army. To get a commission as an officer in the Army, I had to be discharged as a non-officer from the Army. Discharged as a sergeant first class, I think it was. So then I was out of the Army and I immediately had to re-enlist as an officer, which I did, and served about 3 years, including some time overseas. I was suddenly given orders to go to Trieste, and I didn't know where Trieste was. I didn't even know what it was. But I said, okay, I'll go. I couldn't have said anything else, could I? So I was sent overseas, and Trieste, again, is part of Churchill's famous speech, from Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has fallen across the continent. As an infantry officer, and we only had one regiment, we were facing the border of Yugoslavia and Marshal Tito. Marshal Tito and his troops had occupied Trieste right after the end of the Second World War, like the last week. And they were driven out, and we had to stay there on the border to keep them not coming back. So I had a platoon, and we had anti-tank guns and foxholes on the border pointing down into Yugoslavia. And my orders were, if they cross the border, you start firing. I think that our then Colonel Wheeler, he knew what was going on, and he wasn't that upset that nothing was going to break out. Because basically we're there under the auspices of the United Nations. And so I think he knew better than I did what was going on, but they'd never tell us at the bottom. This may sound a little odd, but after all my time in the military, the war in Vietnam was going on. And I was chosen to work on a project with NASA that we developed the sensing device. It's so changed now, but we made the thing that responded to the light for the lunar camera, the one that they carried. This is man's first step on the moon. So that went along with it. And you know, they left that there. So I've got something I had in my hand one time that's still up there. We're very trashy people. And so anyhow, I did that. And although I had been in the Army, in the military a lot, the Vietnam War was still going on. And so when they finished, they said, okay, Wilcox, now we want you to develop a night lighting system that we can pick up troops in Vietnam and shoot them. And I said no. So I quit my job.